When you say you combine classical and modern.
You said that, I didn't.
Not true or true?
I have always thought that dance has a root, and that's in the human body, and the human body can move, and that anyone isolating certain camps and saying this belongs here and this belongs here was misguided.
Because it's all about the movement of the human body.
Yeah.
So don't talk about this being modern. Because you're always identified as a modern dancer.
Let's not claim
You're always identified as a modern dancer.
I know that. And there are techniques to be learned.
Yes.
There's another side to the coin. The techniques to be learned in the classical ballet are real. And it's been, the vocabulary of the classical ballet has been developed for over, 300 years. The techniques of the so-called modern world are, in a way, much more recent, but in a way much more ancient, because they've been practiced since the beginning of time. In tribal dance, in the beginnings of theater, et cetera, et cetera. Why are you grinning so much?
Because I'm just thinking.
You're having too much fun.
I am. I'm just thinking, the exile has done nothing to her spirit. It has not deadened her spirit.
As long as you know you're going home, you can learn a lot from the Egyptians, right?
Yes, that's true. So that's why I was smiling. I'm just saying, I was amused at how this wonderful spirit is still there. You are still as feisty as you have always been, and that's why I love you.
Thank you.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay. This is what you said about yourself. The reason I became a dancer is because I asked myself at a certain point, what do you do best? And I said, dance. And then I said, well, that's a stupid choice to make. There's no career to be made in dance. This is really foolish. And I said, too bad, this is what I do best, and this is what I'm going to do. Because in a way, I owe it to whatever, whomever, wherever I come from to do that. The commitment is ever absolute, and that is what faith is about.
Well said.
So, exactly. I was going to say the same thing. That's almost a creed for you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. And I do believe that, and I do believe that it's my responsibility to try as much as I can to, whenever I do work, augment that which I've been given to become that which can be for everybody.
Now, here's what the New York Times said about your evolution as a choreographer. The tantrum-like solos...
Oops. When is this?
That erupted in the 1970s and early 80s have yielded to symbolic harmony.
Oh, that's nice.
But do you agree with that, too?
Oh, sure.
Not many tantrums anymore?
I'm just thinking about what does tantrum mean.
I don't know either, so
I mean, if you're talking about bursts of energy, no, we have that. If you're talking about outrage and flood and indignity, we have that. If you're talking about pettiness and attempts to alter that which cannot be altered, we don't do that.
Tell me where you would assess your place at the moment in terms of your own evolution. As you said, I can now think about.
Well, here's how I do it. The 20th century is over. It's a closed book. Therefore, it can be looked at somewhat objectively. And I would say that of my repertory, a piece I did in 1969 called The Fugue has real importance in terms of defining what dance can accomplish. It's a dance that happens in silence, and it's about counterpoint, and about how dance is its own construct. It does not require narrative, it does not require music, it is its own construct. A piece that was done in the mid-70s called Deuce Coupe will also have a place of prominence because it was the first actual welding simultaneously of what was called a modern dance company with what was called a ballet company. Although Graham and Balanchine had done earlier a work together. She did Mary Queen of Scots and he did episodes, but they worked independently. They did not work together. And I did with Deuce Coupe, and I started there to weld a technique that involved components of both trainings. I suspect that push will be important because of Misha. It will be a defining role in his career in the West. There is a piece called Baker's Dozen that will be important because it just is a very good piece. It's a very good piece because I had a great company and because we've been through a lot together. and because I had just had some horrible experiences in my life, and I pulled way back, and I was very focused when it was made. So it just has its own life outside of context. A piece called In the Upper Room, which has a Philip Glass score, will be important because it introduces actually a third component into the stage, which is yoga, in a very real way, and because it has an empower and a dynamic that of all the pieces of this century, none has more clearly or more strongly. And the Brahms, the new variations, which is on the cusp of the last century, but I'll throw it over since it's in 2000, it gets to go back, because I think that structurally, architecturally, it's extremely clear.
When will New York audiences get a chance to see it?
In the spring, it will be back at the Met. It's too large to put on the stage at Cine Center. It just won't fit.
I thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again.
That's
That's a
wonderful
pretty
to
good
see you.
assessment of one's life's work that you
Well,
just gave me.
Yeah, I couldn't do it if the century weren't over. Because you know what?
What?
It's totally artificial and arbitrary.
And you know what?
What?
It's not over yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Twyla Tharp, we'll be right back. Stay with us.